Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thanks for joining me again this week. We have a repeat guest today that I'm excited to share with you again, Deborah Brooke, who is the program and volunteer manager at camp director. You wear a lot of hats, Deborah.
I do wear a lot.
Okay, so we'll do that again. Deborah Brooke, program and volunteer manager and camp director for Kate's Club. We've talked about Kate's Club before, and this airs in lots of different markets. We're in Atlanta, we're in the Gulf Coast, we go to New Orleans, we air in Arizona and Phoenix area, and Kate's Club is here in Atlanta, but there are bereavement support groups and bereavement camps for kids all over the country. And we're going to give you national information as well. So stay with us because today we are going to talk about a very important topic, and that is helping grieving children cope with the loss of a loved one. So welcome back, Deborah.
Thank you. Well, actually, Emily was here before.
Weren't both of you here?
I was not here before.
Oh, I'm
so
confused.
Our executive
Okay.
director was here, but Kate's Club was here before.
I remember Emily. I thought you came with her.
Yes.
I've been to Kate's Club a couple of times, so I probably got confused between the meetings we've had at your and whether you were here. Well, so welcome. It's a first-time visit, but a second time talking about the topic.
Yes.
So let's talk about Kate's Club.
Okay.
What is Kate's Club? What's the mission?
Okay, so Kate's Club, our mission is we empower children and teens facing life after the death of a parent or sibling, and we build healing communities through recreational and group support programs, education, and advocacy. In a nutshell. So we work with children ages 5 to 18 who've experienced this close death, and we work with them at the clubhouse. We have outings, we have family programs, and we have a memory walk all throughout the year that they're able to participate in our programs once they become members.
Okay, that's a lot. We're going to dissect that and talk about it in pieces because you do so much for such good.
Yes.
Because these kids have been through a lot. One, I want to reiterate, this is a club. You talk about the clubhouse. This is located in Atlanta, but there's lots of different bereavement support camps and groups all over the country. So for anybody who is listening right now from our Phoenix market or New Orleans or the Gulf Coast outside of Atlanta, you can go to a website called www.childrengrieve.org. We had a conversation before we came on whether the I is before the E, and they reminded me that it's I before E except after C. No, I before E. I sound like a dummy. I need support group. I before E.
Except after C.
Except after C, and also in neighbor and way.
That was your part.
Okay. So anyway, that's www.childrengrieve.org. But stay with us because we have so much to talk about how these camps and these clubs and these support groups for these children can help if you know any child from 5 to 18 that is suffering after the loss of, and I want to reiterate this.
It's a parent.
It's a sibling or a parent.
And the parent could be a guardian that is taking care of a child. So if a grandmother is taking care of a child and the grandmother dies, then the children are able to come to Kate's Club.
Okay,
so it
good.
has to be a guardian, someone who is taking care, that is a co-parent or a parent.
But
who is
when you
parenting
say
the
guardian,
child.
because that's what I was going to,
Yes.
to pull in here. As soon as you said that, I said, I got to talk about
Yes.
that. If the grandparent is maybe the caregiver while the parent goes to work, and this grandparent doesn't have legal guardianship, but is the person that really is raising this child with the help of
Yes.
the parent, that can be a loss
Yes,
like a parent.
exactly.
And you accept
Yes,
that.
we do. Yes, we
Okay.
do. Because that is they're co-parenting.
Co-parenting, right.
So-
and that's important.
It is very important to recognize that it needs to be a guardian, like a guardian / co-parent. So yes,
Okay.
a grandmother who is 50% of the time taking care of this child, then yes, that child can come to Kate's Club. And there are a couple things that are just really different and hard because any loss is very difficult, and so we have families that call that have different circumstances. And so I think it's just being patient with us and being patient with the process. And we have to kind of work through these things because it's very different for the kids to come to programming if the parent, if this grandmother maybe lived with them for a short period of time before they died. So they were maybe ill and they were living with them, but they were not really co-parenting. So they were just living in the home. So sometimes it's a little different. And so we want to just be very careful because when the kids come to the clubhouse, it can be a little different.
And you're not being mean.
No.
Because what you're doing, and I'm assuming here, so you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that what you're doing is you're bringing these children together that have gone through like experiences. Yes. And so if you don't hold it tight to those like experiences, you're not able to do the work that you need to do with those children.
And those are just different losses. And so, and there are other bereavement organizations that are in the Atlanta area that can support these children and support these families. But Kate's Club really wants to target the losses to be those parents and guardians and co-parents and sibling losses because they are so close.
Right. And you have very specific tools and activities and talks that are geared towards that specific type of loss.
Yes.
And you don't want to lose the effectiveness.
Yes.
It's not that you're cold-hearted.
No.
Right.
And we never want to turn away a family, but if it really is not the best fit, we want to make sure that we fit them with something that is maybe a better fit and maybe better suited for the family.
So you could give them information on where else to go.
And we have lots of resources, and that's where some families will call us sometimes because they don't know of other resources. And so Lane Pease, our program director, has just a lot of resources that she knows. It's important to have a grief counselor and a therapist that is working with grief, that has experience with grief and loss to help a child and a family through that process. And so Lane has lots of resources that she's able to share with families to make sure that they get the help that they need.
And, it doesn't go away. The kids are resilient and kids bounce back and kids laugh and smile. They're not going through some of those processes that we as adults go through. Sometimes I think we feel like, we can't have too much fun, we can't laugh, we can't giggle because we got to be grieving. But on the surface, it may seem that the kids are moving on. But they can bury things, and it can be a year later, and it can be years later. And so I implore you, no matter what market you're listening to us in, if there is a child 5 to 18 that has suffered a loss of a sibling or a parent figure, please do go to the website childrengrieve.org because they're connecting with people who've had like experiences, and they may not be able to talk to you, or you may not be able to talk to them. And maybe they want to protect you and not show you their grief, so they can't work through their own because they see you're sad.
That's what children do a lot, is that they don't want to make their family sad, so they don't talk about their own feelings because they don't want to make mommy cry.
Yeah.
And so they stuff them, and then what happens is that, kids, we say that they're resilient all the time.
They look resilient,
right? Because they might not show all those feelings. They might be scared to show those feelings. They can't show them at school. They can't show them at home because they don't want to bring up feelings and be uncomfortable. So that resiliency that we think that they have is really not. And and I think it's just important to allow kids an opportunity and an outlet for sharing. And Kate's Club, first off, just creates a positive peer culture. We want to connect kids together. We hear all the time when kids come to us, they say, no one else has experienced this before. I don't know anyone else that has their daddy is dead. No one, there's no one out there. So kids say that to us, and we're just like, well, the first touch of the clubhouse is our family orientation, where they then meet other kids, a small group of other kids, and they're like, oh, there are other kids. Then they come to a clubhouse. Then they see that there are lots and lots of kids. And so it's really about connecting kids with other kids so they don't feel so isolated and alone during this grief journey. And that is a huge thing for a child, where they can't feel like they can talk to their teacher or their friends or their family. That's like isolating. And so that's really our goal, is to provide this environment.
And what I assume, too, is if you have these children participating in these programs, you're teaching them ways to talk about their feelings, to share. You're teaching them it's okay to share. That's going to permeate back into the home when they get into the home, and they could end up helping the spouse that's left with their grief. And maybe you're experiencing this. You lost your spouse. You're trying to protect your child. But in that protective phase, maybe you're both protecting each other, get them involved. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe you just aren't ready to share yet. Whatever the case may be. But help your child work through it, and that will help you, I imagine.
Well, what's interesting is that there have been lots of studies that we have looked into, and it really is all about the family. Like, the child can get support, and that's great, but truly, if the parents and guardians are not grieving properly, most likely, I guess properly, I don't know if that's the right term, just going through their grief journey and working through it. So if they're not working through their grief journey in a positive way, their children are most likely not going to grieve in a positive way either. So, and putting, in a kid, yes, if they're working through their grief journey in a positive way, that's great. But if the parents and the guardians aren't willing, and if they're stuck, it really does. It's like a wall that the kids hit.
The whole unit gets stuck.
It really does. And so Kate's Club really promotes family involvement. And so we have parent programs that we offer at the beginning of our clubhouse days here in Midtown. The first hour, we invite parents and guardians to stay. So it is a support group that is for them. Again, this is not required. We don't make them stay. If they want to stay, if they want to connect, if they are ready to move through some of the work and do some of the work, they can stay. Because Kate's Club knows that once those families get that support and feel connected with other people, because they themselves are isolated and lonely.
And they're
going
through
meet
parents that have gone through the like situation with them themselves as well. Okay,
so just imagine being a parent, losing a spouse, and now you can't stop parenting to grieve. So you're parenting still, and you're not able to work on your own grief journey, which is very tough and very complicated. And I think it's very challenging for parents and guardians to kind of work through that. I mean, imagine a grandmother who's now raising a grandchild. They haven't had a young child in the home. They need help. They need support. And once they are able to let go of some of this, or break down the wall a little bit, like kind of just nip at the wall a little bit, like break it down. I think the parents, when they are able to open up a little bit and find other connections, it is helpful. And it does work through stuff. And the thing is, working through those feelings, it's not like it's easy. You're still going to be sad, and you're still going to be angry, and you're still going to work through those feelings. It's just a little bit harder because now you're doing that while you're parenting.
Right.
And so it's just a different journey than the child's journey.
Right. So. Wow. So you talk about your clubhouse.
Yes.
So let's just get a little bit more specific about that. So Kate's Club, actually, let's back up even further.
Okay.
Because I've had Emily on, and we talked about Kate's Club, but today we haven't really talked about Kate's Club. So let's back up for a minute and talk about the inception of Kate's Club and how it began and how it got to where it is today. And then that'll help explain what you mean when you say clubhouse.
Okay. So Kate Atwood, who is our founder, she experienced the death of her mother at the age of 12. And I think she pretty much experienced what kids experience, which is feelings of not knowing any other kids that have had this loss. She had a great supportive system, with her family, and she had things there, but she felt like, these are stories that I've heard from her, is like she didn't feel like she had other friends that experienced that death. So she had friends, but she was like, I want to, talk with people that have experienced, and
they can't understand what I'm
and they
going
don't understand
through.
Exactly what they're going
through. I love
through.
them, but I can't talk to them because they don't get it.
They
can't get it. Okay.
So she went through probably not much of a grief journey in her younger years, and I think she just dove into athletics and dove into a lot of activities, which a lot of kids do because they're resilient, and my finger quotes are up, resilient. So that happened, and then she really didn't feel like she went through this grief journey very well, and so, or she was working through it in a different way. So she volunteered at a grief camp called Comfort Zone Camp, which is up in Virginia, and she volunteered as a buddy, which we call our volunteers now buddies, who work directly with the kids, and that was her first experience working at a bereavement camp. And Comfort Zone camps are everywhere,
all over the country,
all over the states.
Yes.
So again, the childrengrieve.org website.
Terrific.
Look it up. You look up your state, and you will see exactly what is offered in your state. It's pretty incredible, that website. So she went and she volunteered. She was asked to share her story at this camp. And so from my understanding, that was like the first time that she probably experienced her grief, just
Being in
really
it.
sharing
Being
and
in it.
understanding the importance of sharing your story.
Right.
And that's where Kate's Club really, the focus is, like offering a place for kids to be, to just be, and
Yep.
to share if they want to share, to listen when they want to listen. It's just to be in a place that they know that they're all connected in some way. So after that camp, I believe she connected with her dad and other friends and whatever, and pretty much created Kate's Club, which was really nothing. I mean, talk about
Just
a grassroots
office
organization.
space.
Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
even office space.
Oh.
I think that she just connected with people, found kids through friends of friends, and I mean, like,
Held
I think
meetings.
It was like she
Wow.
met, I think, at a Barnes and Noble bookstore, and I think she might have taken kids to either a baseball game or like the first like outing, like for a small group of kids, was maybe bowling. So I think it was bowling. That's why we do our bowling family outing every year. But the first one I think might have just been like taking a couple kids to the Braves game. So it really was just, how do I connect kids together?
Wow.
And, connecting with kids and talking. I mean, like, it's easier to talk about your dad who died at a baseball game than
Right.
it is in a therapy room
Right.
sometimes. And so it really kind of just, empowers this whole idea of social and recreational services. So Kate's Club offers social, recreational, and therapeutic services. So from nothing, from like this small little touch and finding a couple kids, then they finally found a small office space in Cobb County, which they held clubhouse meetings, and they had support groups, and they had other things going on in a small scale. And then we moved to Midtown in 2009, which then increased our level of membership, being closer into the city, which then allowed more, like a broader span of kids and families to find us. So now we have families that are from Henry County and Dallas and Rockdale County, and I mean, like, from all over. And on the weekends, and that's what makes us a little bit different, is we offer our program days on a weekend day, not the evenings, which a lot of typical groups are on evenings.
Right,
and
which
when
is
we
so
talk about
difficult.
Atlanta traffic,
Yes.
it's horrendous.
So
And
difficult.
so for someone traveling 45 minutes to come to a clubhouse day on a Saturday is a little bit easier than traveling 45 minutes in rush hour traffic to get somewhere for an evening group that maybe lasts an hour and a half, 2 hours. And we have the kids on our clubhouse days for 6 hours now.
And you can cast your net a lot wider
Yes.
all over Atlanta,
Yes.
and I'm sure there's like groups in other cities as well. Does Kate see Kate's Club eventually growing into other cities, or is that
think-
not her mission?
Oh, I mean, the whole idea of having kids get a service like this is a huge dream. I mean, like, how cool would it be to have a Kate's Club in multiple states around this, all over the United States? I mean, that would be beautiful. I know that we're looking into trying to find like smaller, like satellite locations. Like,
Yeah, let's
in
pull
other
back a little,
areas.
because
Yeah.
when I first got to know Kate's Club, I'm just so impressed. I love what you do, not just the mission, but how you implement the mission. But one of my questions was, gee, it's too bad you couldn't get further out
Yeah.
to help people that were further out. So let's even just say, forget about Kate going national right now. Is she now growing in the Georgia market? Has she branched out, like you said, satellite offices?
Well, Kate's our founder.
Right.
So Kate's not in the office anymore.
Right.
So she is now on our advisory board. She is completely active in the organization. She obviously is where we go. We make sure that she's a part of decision making for the organization and whatnot. So Emily Hawkins, our executive director, and the board of directors, and Kate all work together to make sure what our strategic plan is for the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
And that strategic plan includes reaching out and figuring out how to do that.
Okay.
And so, yes, we would like to, our main location will always stay in Atlanta. The increased programming will hopefully be in areas that are farther out. I mean, think of Hall County. So Hall County is way up
Right.
north. I mean, like, we could probably find volunteers that could do a small 3 to 4 hour program once a month in Hall County. But again, it's finding resources. It's
Right.
finding who can host us. It's finding how to build those relationships and connections with organizations to bring Kate's Club to them. And just remember, we are 7 staff.
Right.
That's all we are.
Right.
So it's not like we can get phone calls now. Oh, I'm in blah 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 blah. All over, and then expect we're going to have a Kate's Club location in the next 6 months.
So what I want to talk about is how these kids, we've already touched on it, they get together with other kids who've had life experiences and they just talk and they share and they teach us so much. But you touched on it. You talk about emotional, therapeutic, recreational. You have it separated so that it's not all heavy.
No. And
and you mix
yes.
it up.
So on our clubhouse days, for example, when you have a kid for 6 hours, we're not going to sit and talk about their dad for 6 hours. That is a little overkill. So what we are going to do is we're going to provide these intentional activities that all focus on themes. And those themes focus on short-term outcomes and long-term outcomes. So our theme of the day might be, if my tears could talk, they would say what? Oh. And so all of our activities then focus on giving voice to sadness and creating safety to express those feelings. So we did different activities that had we had an art therapist come in, we had a play therapist come in, we had music therapy, we had poetry, we had improv, and we had narrative therapy just at our program last weekend. So we're doing all these different therapeutic activities on our clubhouse day. But again, we are not a clinical organization. We are a community-based organization. And so we provide these intentional activities and these opportunities for kids to share if they want. But it's not a heavy sharing. It is and
it's fun, and they want to come back.
It is activity-based.
Because you have to make it something they want to come back to.
Yes.
So there's some hard work done. There's some fun done. You're working through grief, not even realize you're working through grief in some of these activities.
Well, that's the pleasure of recreational activities. When you make them therapeutic, kids do not even realize, oh, I'm talking about my dad through popping these balloons. Like, it's really quite incredible. And that's, my background is I'm a recreation therapist. And so it's all about providing these intentional moments for learning in a fun way. So
I wish we had that for adults. Again, we're talking with Deborah Brooke, who is the program and volunteer manager and camp director for Kate's Club, which is right here in Atlanta. But what we're talking about is grief support for children who have lost a sibling or a parent figure, parental figure. Kate's Club is located in Atlanta, and you can check them out at club.org. But for folks all over the country, the reason why I asked Deborah to come today is I want you all to know how wonderful these programs are. And a lot of times people might get a lot of support through their churches. But you all are such specialists through these grief support groups and these kids' bereavement camps, and they're out there, and they're amazing, fun, recreational grief work that the kids actually enjoy while they're working through their grief. And for anyone outside of Atlanta, I want to remind you to go to the website, www.childrengrieve.org, to find local children's bereavement support groups in your area, and also maybe bereavement camps as well, because they're held all over the country as well.
That website is the National Alliance of Grieving Children.
Okay.
So it is a children's grief website.
Okay. And so don't try to do it all yourself. It's difficult. You're already grieving, and there's a lot of help out there for your children. We do have to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk more specifically about the different activities that we just barely touched upon in this first half hour, and also talk about the bereavement camps and some of the offerings that are out there. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thanks for staying with me. I'm still here with Deborah Brooke, who is the program and volunteer manager and camp director at Kate's Club. Before we took the break, in the first half hour, we talked about Kate's Club, how it was founded through Kate, who experienced the loss of her mother at age 12, and just started reaching out to other children when she grew up to help them through grief that she experienced, and eventually evolved into a place where children could go to get therapeutic, recreational therapy, art therapy, music therapy, fun ways to help open children up to talk about their grief. And that's how Kate's Club evolved. I've been to Kate's Club. It's a vibrant, colorful. You wouldn't know that it's people coming to help work through sadness. It looks like you call it, a clubhouse, a playful, fun, safe environment. And I love the work that you do. So
I'm going to just, because I want to share something, because I think it's really important to understand when parents like tell their kids, oh, we're going to Kate's Club. It's a bereavement organization, and we're going to join this awesome clubhouse because your dad died. So kids are obviously thinking, this is going to be terrible. It's going to be like this, like clinical, like it's going to be a therapist's office. So kids come in and they already have that heavy, ugly feeling that it's going to be terrible.
There's nothing wrong with me. Why do I have to come and seek help? I didn't do anything.
It's terrible. And when they come in, and the younger kids especially, it definitely is geared visually for younger kids. So when kids see it, they're like, oh, okay. And then
This is
going
fun.
through just the orientation process, at the end, they just don't want to leave. And they're like so eager and excited about coming to the clubhouse. But what's also interesting is with our teens. So our teens will sometimes even need more of this encouragement to come, because they are a different breed of children. Teenagers are different, and you have to work with them differently. And so teenagers almost have to be bribed to come, which is really funny because I've had some families actually bribe their teenagers to come. And it looks very kiddish. And what we encourage teens to do is to just give things a shot and to try it. And we average probably anywhere between like 12 to 20 teenagers at each of our programs. So that is what I think is really important to know, is that we truly are 5 to 18 years old.
Yeah.
And it's not just one teenager coming in and you're the only teenager with a whole bunch of little kids. But the environment that we are creating for kids when they first walk in is this welcoming, just positive looking environment. So they
It's so
are
vibrant.
it just lifts a little bit of weight off of them.
Yeah.
So it is very helpful.
And that's the first thing that struck me.
Yes.
You know, we're talking about the loss of life, but this is so full of life.
Yes.
This place. It's wonderful. I love what y'all are doing. So I want to talk more about how you have let's get to the specifics of some of these sessions. So we can talk about recreational therapy. What are some examples that you do with the kids that are recreational?
So just for example, over the weekend, we had students from Mercer University come and do a narrative therapy workshop with our younger kids. And they worked on, they created messages. We had little bottles that they were able to create messages from their loved ones, like positive messages that they would want to keep, that they would think that their loved ones have left them. Then they were able to put some of the negative feelings that they have, like negative messages that they give themselves. So, the feelings of guilt, some of the bad feelings that they have, the not being able to say goodbye, or feelings of, not doing something before they died. So some of these bad feelings, just fear and being scared. And so we put those in balloons. And I know it's not, I did use environmentally friendly balloons. And they were able to release them.
Yeah.
Because they needed to get rid of those bad feelings. And we wanted them to keep the positive feelings. So those are what therapeutic activities are all about, is any activity can be therapeutic as long as you provide intention to that activity.
Very
And then
cool.
over the weekend, we also had, like I was saying earlier, art therapists that come in to do workshops with the kids, and play therapists and music therapists. And we actually, and you were saying that they're grief specialists. What's very interesting is that we are a community-based organization. So we hire a lot of our contractors, which are clinicians, but some of them are not. So like our volunteer base, for example, are not behavior management folks. These are people in the community that want to volunteer at Kate's Club. It might be because they have their own losses or because they just love being around kids. So over the weekend, we had one of our volunteers that have been volunteering for years. She works in like social media, I think, or something, business, whatever. And it's so interesting. She led a poetry workshop with the kids. And they did like a coffee house. The kids loved it. So, but it was all activities that are based on our theme, and they are somehow expressing their feelings of sadness in these different activities.
That's great.
It is just really incredible
That's
how
great.
any activity that we do improv workshops. It's just all about self-expression. And self-expression then leads to confidence and leads
And
to
this is
so many other
something
things.
they take with them, I imagine. So much of what they're doing to work through their grief can be used to work through their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how to share, how to talk to your future boyfriend, how to communicate as a spouse, how to help your future children. I mean, all of this I can imagine is, gosh, it's such a positive impact on these kids. It's making something bad be much more helpful, giving them the tools to live a much happier life in a lot of different aspects, not
definitely.
just through grief.
Definitely.
That's great. So let's talk about some of your because I know there's recreational therapy, and then there's, is it clinical? What do you?
Well, our Clubhouse programs, which we have twice a month, and our members can come to one of those per month.
Okay.
And so we bring in, our volunteers are leading our morning activity, and then we have art therapists, play therapists, music therapists, recreation therapists, volunteer-led activities. We have improv folks coming in, theater people that will come in and do therapeutic activities. So those are our Clubhouse days. So our Clubhouse days
and
are
the
going to be
days are on the weekends.
weekends.
On
It's one
Saturdays.
Saturday and one Sunday per month.
Okay, and
for
it's about 6 hours.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. So those are the days that we are going to talk about their loss,
Okay.
but in a soft way, not like
Right.
in your face kind of way, which is really interesting. And again, I want to stress, we don't force kids to talk, but
Right.
the power of a child talking and then just being present in the group, listening, is movement in a positive direction.
Watching
Kids
someone
want-
else share
Yes.
and get emotional and see that no one's making fun of them and it's helping them. Well, maybe next week I'll talk.
And maybe next month, or in the 3 months or 6 months. I mean, we've had kids come to programs for months, and we were like, why are they not sharing? What's going on? That they don't have to talk to heal. Being present and listening to other kids and knowing that they're connected to this organization and in a positive
Helps them heal in and of
helps them
itself.
heal.
Wonderful.
That I think is really important. I mean, we
Yeah.
just had a conversation yesterday about, or the other day or whatever, about how the power of just being present. You don't have to talk.
That's amazing.
So our Clubhouse days, yes, are days focused on that. But then we have other programs. So other programs that we offer, or we have club outings that are quarterly. Those are really focused on the recreational.
And what
the
are some of the
social.
things that you do?
We have done in the past. We each winter we go ice skating, and Marietta Ice Center up in Marietta, obviously. They have been fabulous partners. They've been so nice to us. We have gone to this past spring. We did Panola State Park, where Charlie Elliott Wildlife Center and Panola State Park partnered up to offer a day outdoor fun.
Oh,
Archery
cool.
and tree climbing and fishing and nature
Wow.
hikes and animal. It was just like an amazing experience that they provided for us. Every fall we do a pumpkin patch at Kegel's Family Farm, and then
That's
we
out in
do,
Taylorsville, right?
I don't even know where that is.
Way west,
but it's
like
not.
heading to
No,
Alabama?
north. No, wait, I don't even know. I think it's north.
It's
Kegel's Family
northwest.
Farm.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know where that is. Wow.
So they are very nice to us, and so they offer us discounts. And then in the summer, we've gone tubing in the past up in Helen, Georgia. We're going to be shifting that a little bit. And so hopefully we'll go to the Chattahoochee Nature Center this year.
Nice.
So
So that brings up cost.
Yes.
What is the cost to have your child participate in Kate's Club?
There is no cost. So Kate's Club covers all of those expenses through fundraising, grants, personal donations.
Unless you want to donate
Foundations.
to help keep it going.
Yes.
And so I would imagine, do you get full? Do you have a waiting list? How does this work?
It's very challenging when you are a community-based organization and there is no fee. So our members, whenever you become a member, you can sign up for any program, and we have certain numbers that we can't go over. So most recently, in the last 6 months, we have gone to capacity. And so we haven't had much of a wait list because we've luckily have had cancellations,
far.
and so we've been able to filter everybody in. And so
Great.
I'm hoping that we will not have. We will probably have wait lists in the future, but we don't want that to happen. So we
Right.
want the outings, especially, to be everybody should be able to go. We rent 3 school buses. We can
love
take
that.
we can take up to 100 kids. So it is literally a mini camp for the day.
So how do we help you make sure You don't have to have a waiting list in the future. People are listening. Let's implore them. This is such a wonderful organization, and these kids are our future. And they're grieving, and they haven't done anything. Something happened to them.
Yes.
Let's help them. And so you have fundraisers. Do you have organizations donate activities?
So
what can people do
our
to help
large
you?
one fundraiser that we have once a year is our gala, which is on May 16th on Saturday next month. That is our largest fundraiser that we do every year, and that is at the Lowe's Hotel in Midtown. So I believe we have some tickets left, so you can come and have a wonderful evening with live music. We have a silent auction. We have a seated dinner. It is truly a beautiful cocktail attire, fun evening for all.
And how much would a ticket be?
I believe that's a question that I should know. I believe it's $175 a ticket.
Okay, so
But go
that's
to the
one way
website.
we
If you
can
go to the
help.
website, you can find out all that information. So that's one way to help, to come to the event and learn more about our organization. A second way is just to directly donate. You can go to our website. There's a donation page. You can directly just do a donation. It could be you and your business say, I want to sponsor a clubhouse or sponsor an outing. I think that would just be contacting Rachel Ezzo, our Director of Development and Communications, to set that up.
What do you mean sponsor a clubhouse?
So, for
an
example-
area closer to people outside of Atlanta where they can meet?
Well, this is what we say by sponsoring a clubhouse day, or let's just say sponsoring an outing. So outings might cost anywhere between $3,000 and $4,000 for us to cover all those costs of an
Right.
outing. So it might be you in your business. So let's just use an example of Homestead Hospice says, I want to sponsor our spring outing. And then you would then donate that $3,000, which would then cover the cost of our spring outing. We would then post, as much information as possible to say Homestead Hospice sponsored our spring outing, and, just kind of blast it out so everybody knows that that was what
There
you
you
were able
go.
to do all year.
Okay. And then what's a clubhouse? How do they sponsor a clubhouse? That's an outing,
It's again,
right?
it would just be our clubhouse days are in Midtown. Those are
Right.
the ones we're in our clubhouse. The club outings are the ones that we take
Okay.
the kids off for the day. Those are quarterly outings. So our clubhouse is the same thing. So our clubhouse days cost us a certain amount of money.
Oh,
So
true.
it
For
could
food
be,
and people you bring in. Okay.
and then smaller things that we've done recently, which is really a nice touch. And this is for folks that are in Atlanta. If you want to sponsor a meal, it could be you come in, like we had the National Society of Leadership and Success from Georgia State University come in just last Saturday, and they brought lunch. They fixed sandwiches, and they put them together, and they served our kids lunch on Saturday the 18th. So we would love for small groups. And that was, I think, maybe 5 to 7 volunteers that came in to do that. And they decorated cookies for dessert. And so it's a very
With the
easy
kids.
way with the kids.
Great.
It's like a 2 or 3 hour volunteer time, and it's a smaller amount, so maybe up to $300 to $400 to cover lunch for the day, and then you can come in and do this team building activity with your coworkers and do something good, and you can see the clubhouse and you can see the kids. So that's a great
That's
volunteer
great.
opportunity. And then a smaller one is to help with our family meals for family orientation. So we do these family orientations twice a month when these new families come to Kate's Club. And yes, they come in and see our wonderfully beautiful clubhouse that's very inviting. But you know what also adds to that invitation is a hot meal that is a home-cooked hot meal. And we started this several months ago, and we've had such success with people signing up for our family meals. Like I said, we had 3 volunteers come and bring food in for the family orientation just this past Tuesday, and they brought in a huge salad and fresh fruit.
And how many
sloppy joes
people are they
for
typically
30
feeding?
people. It's for
30?
30.
Okay.
So it's a great shared opportunity for 2 or 3 people to make food for 30 people. They drop it off on that late afternoon, early evening to the clubhouse. They don't have to stay. They're actually encouraged not to stay because it is a little different and awkward,
Right.
not serving food. So just to provide the meal for us. And it's easy,
Yeah.
very easy.
Well, that's great. I'm just thinking that'd be a great way for corporations
Yes.
to establish a volunteerism program within their organization. Because when your people are connected to the community too, they feel better, and then they
Yes.
feel better about the organization they're working for because they
Definitely.
see that this is important to you.
Yes.
And that I just did a show not long ago, and we talked about this. When you give, you get 10 times back.
Oh, definitely.
And so if any of you that are listening are CEOs of an organization or officers or directors with influence, and you don't have a volunteer program that your employees can participate in, whether you make it mandatory or not, I want you to think about that, because no matter what the organization, I mean, this could just be 10 of your employees each making a meal for 3, and then 2 or 3 of your employees bringing it down.
Yep.
You know, if 5 employees made a casserole, you're going to feed 30 people.
Exactly.
And then 2 of them could just bring it.
And all of
That's
these
so
volunteer,
easy.
all these volunteer opportunities are on our website. So if you go
Okay.
to the website and there's a tab that says "How to Help," and you go to volunteer, it gives you a list of all the different ways to volunteer. There are larger asks. There are smaller ways. Like there's a variety of different ways that you can do something.
Wonderful. Again, you can call Kate's Club
Yes.
if you want more information, or if you just want to donate, or you want to find out about being a volunteer or setting up a volunteer program within your corporation. And that number is 404-347-7619.
You got it.
And again, you can go on the website, www.katesclub.org. And we're speaking right now with Deborah Brooke, who's the program and volunteer manager and the camp director for Kate's Club. But there's lots of wonderful, 7 wonderful employees with Kate's Club. So let's talk about the bereavement camp.
Yes,
Because
okay.
we've talked a lot about the clubhouse and the activities and how that works on a monthly basis and a quarterly basis, and a every week, Saturday, 6-hour-a-day basis. But there's something very special going on with this bereavement camp.
Yes.
So I want to talk about what it is, how someone is to get involved. You can't just show up and go to the camp.
No.
So let's talk about all those particulars.
So Camp Good Morning is once a
Camp
year.
Good Morning.
Camp Good Morning.
Okay.
With MOURNING.
Oh, that's nice.
So we have our camp every year. This year it's going to be held July 31st through August 2nd. It is a weekend bereavement camp. It is only for our members. That is what's different. So we have people calling all the time saying that they want to just go to our camp. Well, it doesn't work like that. So they have to become members of Kate's Club, attend programs, because what makes us so different is that then we know the kids that are coming to our camp, and we can actually help them in a
And
different
that's
way.
so important, folks, because I tried to put a bereavement camp together. It is in my heart, and someday it's going to happen. We found a location. We worked with transportation. I'm a very good organizer in detail. So I had name tags and who's going to do luggage and who's going to do that and how we're going to do the volunteers. There's an awful lot that goes into putting one of these camps together. But it's scary when you're just doing a camp because you don't know the children. You don't know the special needs of the children. You don't know the triggers that could set off a child.
Yes.
And so I pulled out and I said, wait, we need to put more thought into this and figure out a better way, because it has to be a safe environment and it has to be a positive experience.
Well, there are camps, there are bereavement camps that are in Atlanta. So Camp Stars and Camp Magic with a K have been around for over 15 years.
Right.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if you
And
want a
that's good.
standalone
Yeah.
camp,
Was
if
too
you
much for
want
me.
the standalone camp, there are other camps out there, but I know those two for sure have been around. They've been around the block.
Right.
They
And
know
they'll
what
do
they're
it.
doing.
There's
and they
help.
do the standalone camps. So, and there are other standalone camps. So there are camps out there that are standalone. You just have to do the research. Camp Good Morning is for our members. So to participate in Camp Good Morning, you have to become a member, which you go to our website, you download a member application. Lane Pease, our program director, will get in touch with you. We'll work all the process out to get you involved, and you have to attend some programs heading up to camp. So other things that our camp is different is since we know our kids and since they've attended programs, we can really focus a lot more on the social and recreational piece. So,
Right.
and connecting these kids together and promoting a positive peer culture and really engaging these kids in fun things to do together with a sprinkling of the grief work. So that's what's really different. And so
Okay.
we're not heavy grief all weekend. We have a sprinkling of grief stuff all throughout the weekend. And
Okay.
so we're really heavy on the social and recreational piece. And Camp Twin Lakes, we are one of, I think, 50 plus partners over at Camp Twin Lakes, and they've been around for 20 plus years.
And that's the site.
That is the site
Yes.
where we go to. And Camp Twin Lakes has many sites, but we go to the one in Rutledge right now. And they provide the camp activities. And so at a discounted price for us. And so being a partner of Camp Twin Lakes is an amazing relationship that we've built. So they provide the camp activities of canoeing and fishing and
That's wonderful.
rock climbing and ropes courses and paddle boating and all those normal camp activities Camp Twin Lakes provides for us. Then our volunteers who are staying in the cabins with the kids, they are volunteering all weekend with our kids. They get to do then the grief work. And these are not professional folks that are working, that are counselors, that are clinicians. These are our volunteers that have been working with these kids throughout the years. And so what is interesting is that these are the people that we're training to do some of the grief work in a fun and social and recreational way.
Okay, so folks, this is July 31st to August 2nd.
Yes.
So if you're listening and you know of a child between 5 and 18 that has lost a parent or a sibling and is grieving, please contact Kate's Club today. Get them involved today. Get them to go to some of these programs, and then they can also participate in this camp. And the cost of the camp is
nothing. So
this is a free
again, all
program.
of our programs are at no cost to our families.
I'm going to give you that phone number again. It's Kate's Club, which is located in Midtown. So you would have to be able to dedicate 6 hours on Saturdays for your child in Midtown. The phone number is 404-347-7619. The website address is www.katesclub.org. And the location is at 1330 West Peachtree Street, Northwest, Suite 520 in Atlanta. Thank you so much for being with us today, Deborah. I'm so happy to have you back. This is such a wonderful organization, and what you do for these children is just amazing. And I do want you to get your children involved in the clubhouse days and enjoy this camp. But again, there are other camps through different times of the year where you don't have to be members and participate.
Yes.
And it is a very thorough, well thought out weekend grief camp for children, and there's lots of benefits to those as well. But if you have somebody in this program, they get to know each other, they get to know their peers. The team knows who pairs well with who and what activities are going to work, and it's just a fun weekend because a lot of the work is done in the clubhouse days. So there's benefits to both.
Oh, definitely.
I'm Jeannie Pete. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day and week ahead, and listen here same time next week and every week. Homestead Hope Foundation is your resource for a healthy life. God bless.